I fully believe that it is important to think for oneself, to be able to receive new information and critically analyze it and establish a unique, opinionated perspective. Which is why it perplexes even me as to why I'm such a simp for a movie's critical and audience reception. Time and time again, I'll take one look at a movie that I'm interested in's reviews, and if it's an ugly red or yellow, I'll immediately change my mind about watching it. The thought of wasting 2 hours watching a possibly mediocre movie is so offensive to me that I would rather take the word of a complete strangers instead of using my own brain. Sad, but true. I racked said brain to think of which movies that were panned and generally considered to be a bad movie, but I stand by. And the first movie that came to mind was 2004's Van Helsing, a movie that I've always defended as being a fun, popcorn, action-filled take on the classic Universal monster movies. I'm also realizing that describing a movie as a fun, popcorn movie means it's probably a dumb movie you had fun with. Hey, fair enough. I'm a big fan of Dracula and Universal classic monsters, so what did this movie have to offer? Since Brendan Fraser's 1999 The Mummy hit, nearly every attempt to reboot or remake one of these classic properties has been a failure. Whether they tried going the action-adventure route or tried sticking to the spirit of the originals and focus on horror, most of the time these movies failed to just accomplish the one thing that any movie should seek to accomplish: just be entertaining. Which is exactly where Van Helsing excels. The movie runs at a fast pace, changes things up nicely, and offers a little bit of everything for any monster fan. Not going to spoil anything or dive deep into the plot, but here's the basic gist. The movie opens up in black and white in Transylvania, where Dr. Frankenstein, or Frankenstein for you learned folks, is creating a monster in a vintage mad scientist lab. Dracula shows up wanting the 7 men-in-1 combo for his nefarious plot and murders Dr. Frankenstein in the process. The monster escapes and we get a classic villagers with pitchforks burning the windmill with a monster inside scene. We fast forward a year and we are introduced to Van Helsing, who is a monster hunter that works for a secret holy order, the Illuminati, that tries to keep the peace worldwide. Kate Beckinsale's family has been trying to kill Count Dracula for 400 years and has been failing miserably. And until Dracula is killed, her family is stuck in purgatory. So off goes Van Sexy and we have ourselves a movie. Along the way, we run into werewolves, the 3 very horny brides of Dracula, baby vampires, the monster of Frankenstein, and backstabbing Igor. Namely, here's what I like about it. Classic, iconic monsters given a respectful incarnation wrapped in an action-packed adventure pick. Frankenstein's monster is true to his tragic, misunderstood nature. The werewolf is giant and imposing. Dracula has great presence, beautiful hair. Seriously, you think I'm joking, but I can't get over how great this guy's hair looks. Also, my favorite part of the movie is Dracula's bat form, which is teased from the beginning, and eventually we see at the climactic point of this movie. A giant, evil, Satan-looking vampire. That's what I want, right there. And if you're going to go the Hollywood blockbuster sex-it-up route, then do it right. You get Hugh Jackman, Kate Beckinsale, and go vampire hunting in style. The costumes and sets are great. Jackman looks very much like a hunter from Bloodborne and is equipped with an automatic crossbow and a bevy of monster hunting tools. David Wenham plays a bumbling friar assistant that is basically a 19th century Q who adds a bit of hit and miss levity. This is definitely an action-adventure movie, but it spiritually keeps all of the horror elements that you would want. I really appreciate some of the creative uses of CG on the monsters. The introductory scene where Van Helsing is talking to Mr. Hyde, the artist formerly known as Dr. Jekyll, in this movie is basically an evil version of Shrek, and banters back and forth with Van Helsing. It gives us a good idea right away of what Van Helsing is used to dealing with and what we can expect from the rest of this movie. If this scene grabs you, enjoy what the rest of the movie has to offer. Some of the werewolf transformations are quite well done. The man about to turn into the wolf scaling up the wall, ripping off his own skin, looks fantastic. Hugh Jackman went straight from filming X2 to this. Both characters Jackman plays have memory loss problems and go on a quest hoping to remember who they are. Jackman definitely seems like he's on cruise control for most of this movie. His accent fluctuates back and forth between being an American and a poor British accent. He still gives you all the intense Jackmanisms and is overall great. It's actually a shame that this movie has been buried and no one remembers the soundtrack, because it is top-notch action-adventure theme at its finest. It's no surprise that the maestro god himself, Alan Silvestri, composed it. Another reason I like this movie, faults and all, is because it actually aged quite well in comparison to the other monster movies that have come after it. Vampires, in my opinion, are supposed to be blood-sucking, hyper-seductive, demon-like entities that are a great conduit of storytelling and representing the evil, lustful desires in humanity. What have we gotten since Van Helsing? Some sparkly, young adult, vitamin D lacking, translucent-looking losers. Instead of a wolf man, we got an overgrown pup boy that high schoolers wrote about in their diary. Moreover, Universal's attempts to resurrect these various monsters have fallen flat. Benicio del Toro's Wolfman was a noble rated R attempt, but ultimately a disaster. 2014's Dracula Untold was awful, and not even All-American Tom Cruise could save a doomed Dark Universe franchise starting wannabe. Whether the upcoming Universal monster movies are more action-adventure oriented or stick to their horror roots, I just hope they focus on making an entertaining movie and try not to stick together some abomination that pleases no one.